The first day of her new job should have been the beginning of a dream come true. Alina, a soft-spoken but highly intelligent 24-year-old woman, had just landed a teaching position at one of the most prestigious high schools in the city. Dressed elegantly in a cream-colored silk top and tailored slacks, she walked confidently through the school gates, her dreams echoing with the voices of her late parents, who had always believed in her potential. She had worked hard, against all odds, to earn her master's degree in education and was determined to shape young minds with patience, kindness, and strength. But the moment she stepped into Class 10B, she sensed something was off. The atmosphere was heavy with disdainful stares and muffled giggles. Most of the students barely looked up, while a group of 4 boys in the back whispered among themselves, smirking. Alina smiled warmly and introduced herself. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Miss Alina Khan, your new English teacher. I believe in mutual respect and learning together, and I'm excited to work with you all." Her words hung in the air like a fragile thread, immediately cut by a fake yawn from the back row. "That's great," said one of the boys sarcastically, another newbie trying to act like she owns the place. His name was Denial, the ringleader of the group. He was tall, arrogant, and the son of a very influential businessman in the city. He had never faced consequences in life because his father's money made sure of it. Alina didn't respond with anger, she simply continued the lesson. But the disrespect didn't stop. Over the next few days, the taunts turned into disruptions, and the disruptions slowly evolved into harassment. Denial and his gang would make lewd jokes, whisper behind her back, mimic her voice, and laugh loudly during her lessons. The other students, though uncomfortable, remained silent, too afraid to challenge the school's unofficial bullies. Even some of the teachers hinted to Alina to just go easy on them. But Alina was not someone who gave in to injustice. She started documenting everything quietly, every insult, every misbehavior, every act of defiance. She had grown up poor and alone, but she had learned how to stand her ground, even when the world tried to silence her. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning. The school was buzzing with anticipation for the annual inspection, and Alina had put on her best outfit, a sky blue silk top that had been her mother's favorite. As she entered the classroom, she could feel something sinister in the air. The moment her back was turned to write on the whiteboard, she felt a sharp tug. Before she could react, there was the unmistakable sound of silk tearing. Gasps echoed around the room, followed by cruel laughter. Alina turned around in shock, her top was ripped from the back, exposing her undershirt. Denial stood with a smirk on his face, a sharpened pen in hand. Tears welled up in her eyes, but not from weakness, from fury. The room fell silent as her gaze met Denial's. The students had crossed a line. One that could never be uncrossed. The principal was called. But predictably, Denial's father stormed in minutes later with lawyers and threats. "My son would never do such a thing," he barked. "Do you know who you're dealing with?" Alina was asked to let it go or consider a transfer. But she had reached her limit. Quietly, with grace and steel in her spine, she picked up her bag, nodded, and walked out. But not before locking eyes with Denial and saying, "You just destroyed the last thing I owned that belonged to my mother. I won't forget this." What no one knew was that Alina was not just a teacher, she was also the heir to a multi-million-dollar software firm left behind by her late uncle, whose company she had recently inherited and quietly taken over as CEO. She had never used that identity at the school, choosing to live modestly. But after what happened, she made a decision: she would never let humiliation go unanswered again. At home, she called an emergency meeting at her firm. Her HR team was surprised when she demanded a full review of their recent hiring. And there it was. Denial's father and 2 of the boys' mothers were working at her company in high positions, protected by reputation and privilege. Alina smiled coldly. Karma, she thought, was about to be delivered. What happens next will leave you stunned, and justice, oh, it's sweeter when it's personal. The world never expected a soft-spoken teacher to turn into a storm. But storms are born in silence, and Alina Khan had been silent for far too long. The night after she left the school, she didn't cry. She didn't collapse. She opened her laptop, pulled up the company hierarchy, and started typing directives that would set the wheels of poetic justice in motion. The same parents who had raised bullies now had no idea that their careers were being audited by the very woman their sons had humiliated. By morning, Alina was seated in her sleek glass office overlooking the city skyline. The plaque on her desk now boldly read Alina Khan, Chief Executive Officer. She wore a sharp black power suit, her long hair pinned in a fierce bun, and her eyes no longer carried the vulnerability of a victim. Her assistant entered, holding a file. "Ma'am, the internal review you ordered is complete. Would you like to see the employee performance records first?" Alina didn't even blink. "Bring me everything. Especially on Mr. Raymond and Mrs. Hassan." But she didn't stop there. Alina launched a discreet investigation into the background of all 4 students involved. What she found left her shocked but more determined. Each one had a history of school misconduct, bullying, blackmailing juniors, even shoplifting, all of which had been covered up by their wealthy parents. "So this wasn't the first time," she muttered under her breath. "But it will be the last." That afternoon, she arranged 4 private courier deliveries. Each envelope contained a legal termination notice, evidence of misconduct, and a letter signed by Alina herself. The envelopes were addressed to Mr. Raymond, Mrs. Hassan, Mr. Talal, and Mrs. Imran, parents of the bullies. Within 48 hours, they were fired from the company. But Alina wasn't finished. She also filed formal complaints with the school board, backed with video evidence discreetly captured by a kind student in class the day her silk top was torn. And this time, with her new public profile as a successful CEO, the media took notice. The news exploded across local channels. CEO of tech giant exposes school bullying ring, fires employees involved. The story went viral, and support poured in for Alina from all over the country. Activists, educators, and even celebrities began speaking up about bullying and how it often goes unchecked due to wealth and power. Alina's quiet face became the symbol of courage, not because she shouted, but because she acted. Meanwhile, chaos unfolded in the homes of the bullies. Denial's father lost his job, his reputation, and several pending deals due to the backlash. His mother, who had always defended his actions, now watched helplessly as her social circle turned cold. Their home, once loud with parties, became a prison of silence. Denial was expelled from the school following an official inquiry. His so-called friends turned on him, blaming him for everything. He had gone from prince to pariah overnight. But the most shocking moment came when Alina did something none of them expected. She visited the school, not to teach, but to talk. At a special school assembly, she was invited as a guest speaker. Standing on the same stage where she had once been humiliated, she now stood tall and commanding. "I didn't come here to punish," she told the students. "I came here to prove that silence is not weakness. That kindness is not stupidity. And that respect is not earned through fear, but through character." The hall was silent. Even the toughest kids watched her, awestruck. Some looked ashamed. Some looked inspired. But none of them would forget her words. After the assembly, a group of girls from class 10 came up to her in tears. "Miss, we wanted to speak up that day. But we were scared. We're sorry." Alina hugged them. It's never too late to choose courage. Alina's life took a new turn from that day. She launched a non-profit initiative named Classroom Courage, offering support to teachers and students dealing with bullying. She began speaking at universities, leading workshops, and mentoring young girls from underprivileged backgrounds. Her story was turned into a documentary, and her company grew even more popular, known not just for innovation but for integrity. But the greatest moment came months later. One afternoon, while she was walking out of her office, she was stopped by a young woman in a simple scarf and college uniform. "Miss Alina, you don't know me," she said, voice trembling, "but I watched your interview on TV. I used to think I had no power because I come from a small family, but now I want to become a teacher, just like you were. You inspired me." Alina smiled. This was why she never backed down. And to those who once mocked her, who tore her top in front of an entire classroom, who laughed at her pain, they were now reduced to a lesson in her legacy. A lesson the world wouldn't forget. Because sometimes, the quietest voices carry the loudest echoes. And the ones they underestimate the most, become the ones they regret the longest.